Great. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Um, what to attempt to share the agenda. All right. So is everyone able to see the agenda? If you can, just give me a thumbs up. All right. Awesome. Thank you. So good afternoon. My name is Brittany Council Morton, and I am the national chair for the communications recognition category. So first, I would like to introduce our Program Recognition Council Chair, which is Mr. Daniel Leonard. He is on our call. And then we have our regional vice chairs as well. From North Central, we have Miss Sarah DeBoer. Did I say it correctly, Sarah? She's not up here yet, but she's getting on. Northeast, we have Miss Ginger Fenton. Southern, we have Miss Sarah Scott. And then West, we have Miss Iris Mays. So we are going to just roll with it. What I did, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, by all means, just unmute yourself and chime in because I do things very formal, informal, but I don't want to miss anyone. So if you have anything, just let us know. So I do want to remind everyone about the communications luncheon. You have to select that luncheon on your registration. So and then in order to, this is where the regional finalists and winners, you guys will receive your certificates. And if you are a national winner, the national winner is not announced until the luncheon. So you can be a national finalist, but the national winner is announced at the luncheon, and it's based on registration. So if you register and you're in the running for a national award, then you'll go from there. Um, if you do not register and you are a national finalist, then you're not eligible to be a national winner. The national winners have to be in place. And the luncheon is going to take place Friday, July 10th from 11:45 a.m. to 1:15 p.m. And we share that luncheon time with the poster session group as well. So I know some things that folks are wondering is how many submissions we had overall, which region had the most, and what were the top sections. So for North Central, we had 240 submissions. Fact Sheet was the one that had the most applicants. For Northeast, it was 77, again with Fact Sheet. For Southern, we had 455 submissions. The biggest areas were newsletters and event promotional package. And then Western, we had 74 for Fact Sheet. So overall, we had 846 submissions this year, which is really, really good. Now, those are the number of applicants that actually hit the submit button and they transition through the different stages in our back office or in our dashboard. So there could very well be some applications that were there that the application person or applicator forgot to hit submit. So that just sits in the unsubmitted category. So they were not factored into these numbers. What I would like to happen is I know the regional chairs have already done this, but our state chairs, if you can, please look over the scorecards and email us any of your typos that you may see up there, or if you have questions about certain information or the wording or verbiage on some of the scorecards, please send that to your regional chairs so we can work together as a team and get those edited just to be consistent for judging and clear up any miscommunication or confusion that may arise. So moving on to submission and judging process review. So what happens is,
I ask a question
yeah,
about the scorecards?
yes.
I was just wondering if we could add the abstract instructions, um, and maybe the category instructions on that scorecard for everyone, for the applicants, if they're looking at the scorecard, before they apply, and then also for the judges.
Okay. And because I saw your note, I thought you wanted that or was suggesting that to be added to the category.
Yeah, maybe that too, but just yeah, if it's possible, I don't know if it's possible to have it on the scorecard, but I think it would be helpful, like I said, for judging too. But I don't know if other people think that applicants are looking at the scorecard. I kind of feel like maybe they're not looking at the scorecard, but that to me is like kind of low-hanging fruit if you're applying, to look at the scorecard. Um, yeah.
And if I'm looking away, it's just because I'm writing down notes,
Yeah.
just to make sure I
Great.
have the stuff.
Great. Thank you.
No problem. Scott, is that possible?
Absolutely. Um, I would just probably need, are you wanting, I'm trying to think of what I know we have a sample abstract in the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as that basically, shows them the formatting, single paragraph, says maximum word count of 350. That's about all the only abstract rules we have, unless I've got another spot somewhere else that
On the website now.
Yeah, it's also on the website. And it says in huge letters, the abstract is written as a single paragraph, but I feel like people still aren't seeing that. I don't know if other
Nobody's
people.
reading that.
and we had a very similar situation on the request. Well, received an email uh, because their presentation got did not get selected in the scoring on the presentation side. I think the abstract format is only worth 5 points. So the applicant or member was concerned that it was that formatting that cost him getting selected as a presentation. The national chair of that committee confirmed that no, there were 40 other points taken off in other areas that had nothing to do with the formatting. But anyway,
Mhm.
the point was made, and it was a very valid point that I realize the magazine is a vital communication tool. However, when you're online and you're doing this application, it would be nice if that, shows up on the actual application. Now, I don't think it's going to be easy for me to do it on the actual application, but I can definitely add it to that section within the communication. But I can talk to our web folks about actually getting it as part of the application. I mean, I can just send them, basically I'd send them a PNG of that page, that showing the abstract format and the wording and all that. But
That's a good
anyway,
idea. Yeah.
Because on the website, under the communications awards instructions and guidelines, it tells you how your abstract should be written up. So I think what we've discussed or what we've heard over time is that it really is an issue of not reading what's there.
Yeah.
So maybe that information can be, I guess, that added to that scorecard at the top, because the other thing that we run into is people submit their applications, but they don't hit the submit button. So it stays in an unsubmitted space and they're thinking, oh, I submitted it. No, you still have to go through and hit that button.
and the problem with that is, and I've experienced it both ways, is that normally at the very bottom when you hit save and continue, normally it should revert all the way back up to the top of the page where it will tell you if you've got any errors. It's because it won't let you submit if you've got errors. It identifies what those errors are. So, like if your abstract had 352 words, it would tell you you've got too many words. But I swear I've also had a time where I hit save and continue and it did not bounce all the way back up to the top.
Mm-hmm.
So I've thought about asking the web folks, can you have that uh, submit an error section on both the top and the bottom so that in case it doesn't revert to the top or just have it at the bottom, but then I'm afraid if it bounces back up to the top and it's not up there, that's why I'm saying maybe in both spots, but
Yeah.
I can definitely add it to the scorecard. That's easy. And
Okay.
maybe just take a look at some of the other pages in there, um, and see if there's multiple spots I can put that same abstract language.
Okay. Thank you.
Because I mean, I need to do it not just for awards, but also presentations and also for posters because there's abstracts for all three. And I think we're running into this as Brittany, I concur with you that reading is the issue, um, or is a major part of the issue. And when there's a lot of language and text to look at, it's hard to expect everybody to read every single line. I mean, I run into that on our AMPIC registration. It's 47 pages of stuff. And, I got one little line in there saying you're going to get a confirmation within 48 hours, but people don't see it. And then why haven't I got my confirmation yet? 2 hours later. So, and I can understand they're concerned. Once again, it didn't get submitted. So we'll tweak it. I may just go ahead and do it and get it done now so that it's there and we'll be ready for next year if that's the committee's wish.
Okay. So I was scanning over the chat and I saw there was a comment about confusion with the communications luncheon. So when I did my registration, let's say Friday, I did my registration Tuesday, I think. And I went in and where it had communications luncheon, I just checked the box.
There
So you
was
can
none, Brittany.
wait, say that again.
There wasn't an option.
Let me see my because then you want how did I do the invites last time? Wasn't that an issue? Like, did I do it correctly?
No, I think you used some app, and I want to say maybe it was oh gosh, what's the app that it's a common sign up genius or something like that. I can't remember what it was. I know our high school youth football team used the app. Uh, I think it was Sign Up Genius. I don't remember.
No, you're right. I misspoke.
But
No, it was
anyway,
Google Forms.
Daniel might. I know Daniel did it last year, and I think he was on the call. I think he is now. I don't know. Maybe he's Daniel. Do you have any? I don't remember how you did it last year.
That's a great question. I would have to go back and look at it.
Because I think I did a Google form. And what was the issue we ran into when I did it? Because it had to do with the numbers.
About 40 of the people that wanted to be there didn't RSVP.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was they couldn't access that Google form or didn't get it. But um, yeah, I mean, basically, it's one of our invite only functions that, and we have to monitor. I'll send you an email later today or within the next week about the number of people the room can accommodate and the budget can accommodate. But I know we also kind of run into an issue with some of the national winners or finalists um, have very large teams and they want, you know, 5 to 15 of their team members to come to the luncheon. And I know we cannot accommodate that. So um,
Okay.
I want to say off the top of my head, we've got a total of like 125 tickets, and that's got to include the posters. So I'll give you the breakdown of how many the communications committee can get. And then I think you'll kind of review total number of submissions and determine if you're able to open it up to regional winners or state winners based on the RSVPs that you get.
Scott, I just looked back through my email and it was a little bit of trouble, but it was effective. I individually contacted via email each of the national finalists uh, and got individual responses from them as far as who was attending the luncheon.
It's also a good way to, especially if it's a winner that's receiving money, when they tell you, no, I'm not coming, that then raises the flag of, okay, I guess we're not awarding. Well, that's usually when they ask if a team member can pick up the money.
Correct. I will, Brittany, when we hang up from this meeting, I'll just forward you the email that I sent, the stock email that I sent to people last year. It might have been something that you did before. I don't remember.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you. All right, so thank y'all for clearing that up because I did misspeak. Um, Another thing, so we're going to jump onto common issues that potentially lead to a disqualification.
Well,
So,
could we answer Scott's question? Because he just said, is that what we want to have that error on the bottom? And I think that's a good idea. So I just wanted to say that before we leave that.
I'm fine with it. But I think it more so depends on what the web people can do if they'll populate that way. But that's fine with me to have it in multiple places.
Great. Thanks.
Does that work for everyone else on the committee? All right, cool. Um, so what the regional chairs have been suggesting, as well as myself, is that you got to make sure that members know if they are submitting something as a Google website, a Canvas platform, it has to be accessible at all stages. Because when we send these links to judges, the judges need to be able to access the information. We're still finding out that that is an issue. And because it's after the submission deadline, our hands are kind of tied with what more we can do. Um, there have been times where we will reach out to the person and be like, hey, can you make this fix or can you make this change today? And if they're able to, then we can continue going forward. But if not, unfortunately, we have to move on to the next best item. Do any of the team members have anything they want to chime in on that? Or even any of our state people? Have you guys had any issues with that? What works for you? What doesn't work for you?
Yeah. Um, So I didn't realize, I mean, my issue with the Google Classroom thing was that it wants to take your Gmail. And so then, I'm the regional vice chair for the Western region, but if it's a judge, they don't want to have to put in a email that could be linked to them, you know? So it wasn't that that wasn't accessible, like you could get in, but so I don't know if they need to provide like a fake Gmail account, but then they could still see that it was accessed. I don't know. So I just thought the anonymity was kind of taken out of it with the Google Classroom, and it wasn't something that they could just turn into a PDF either because they had these interactive components in there. Um, so I and it wasn't actually in the rules. It just says include the URL in the abstract. So it doesn't say the so that was another thing, a note that I had that we need to say um in some of those that it has to be, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know how to even say that exactly, that it needs to be accessible without a login.
I think
Um,
I want to say that, and I could be very wrong. I want to say it was in the guidelines years ago, um, because I know this isn't the first time we talked about this. Like it's come up numerous times. So yeah, we definitely need to make sure we get the verbiage there. But also, if your stuff has to be judged, they have to be able to access it. I think when I went to the link, you sent the link over to me, and I pulled it up in the incognito window, and it did a 404 saying page not found. And I tried it a couple of times. So
And I
I,
think that applicant did change the settings, but then she also sent me a link like how to log in with a Yahoo account. And I was like, that's not also not what we want.
yeah,
Um,
because it should be a feature where you can change it to like anyone with the link can access it and
I
doesn't
think
have to
she
be.
I think she did do that, and so she was just trying to do like a secondary thing just in case. But yeah, I mean that's an issue with a lot of the ones where people are not uploading a PDF. So, the website online content. It does say material must be publicly accessible content that doesn't require a password. So we need to add that from number 11 into some of these other categories, such as learning module, maybe bound book, um, maybe the podcast audio recordings. So anyway, it was somewhat of an issue in a few different categories.
Now, scrolling through them while we're chatting. I found book people. Yeah, like for bound book, it says if the book is available online, indicate the URL in the abstract. So typically the URL will go to the purchasing page, whereas we need a URL to the actual book, the document to be judged.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Let me make a note of that.
And then is this the time where we talk about the abstract, Brittany, or do you want to, or
Yeah,
because
we
I
can.
see it under common issues, but I can wait if,
No, we can because we kind of touched on it a little bit. So, yeah, while I'm making this note, you're more than welcome to go ahead and say what you
okay.
need to.
Yeah, because Daniel put in the chat, the abstract should clearly be one paragraph as stated in the rules, and people do disregard that. But what I was wondering is if in the categories, because I think this is what people read are these categories, and then they miss the instructions for the abstract. And I don't know if that's true in other regions, but I'm assuming it is, but you guys could pipe in on that. But I wondered if we could just add in those instructions in each category, also see abstract instructions. If we could have it in each category, because I think sometimes people are like, I'm going to do a newsletter, and they just read the newsletter description, or they just read, whichever one they're applying for. So I wondered if we could add also see abstract instructions
Okay.
in, but
We probably need to, because I think it was Sandy that had mentioned in the chat. Each category has like their separate mini abstract, and then you have the general abstract.
right. But once
So,
people see that it says the abstract should provide, so like under number 4, event promotional package, is at the end it says the abstract should provide event goals and impacts. So that might make the person think that's all they need to include in the abstract. So,
Maybe one other option, I'd have to go in and look at the actual application pages,
yeah.
but I know for some of the awards, there is an option for me to have additional information off to the side on that application page. And so maybe um, for each of these categories, since they are set up individually within the web system, maybe I can go in and include each of those 1 through 13 next to the appropriate, near that abstract box, include those instructions on the actual application page. That's something I'll have to check and see if that's feasible and not going to cost us $10,000 to do. But because trust me, they charge 175 bucks an hour, and they'll charge you for something that takes 5 minutes. It's a minimum. I'm a penny pincher when it comes to this stuff. But the board is also, my experience with the board is if it is truly beneficial and can solve problems, they're willing to make the investments and spend the money to get it fixed. So I am a little bit concerned before category 1 through 13 are listed, where it gives the just overall general abstract instructions, it is a little bit confusing because you see the first 6 words, saying each entry must have an abstract, and then it says include members' name, state, county, team entries, blah, 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 which kind of implies they want that in the abstract, and we don't. So I don't know if you were getting ready to say that, Iris, but I just read that and I thought that's confusing. I don't know how many of the abstracts you looked at contained member info in the abstract. It's easy to go in and delete it because the system will automatically, basically, it's saying we need to have that member info within the application, but not in the abstract. So we can figure out some wording for that. But I
Well, I
think
think that is a great point too, because I had somebody who asked me, let's see, they said that they thought they weren't supposed to identify themselves in the abstract. And I was like, correct. But so they didn't describe their role. And I said, no, you would write the author did such and such. And so that's also
Third
a point
person.
of confusion because so I think if we took that out, and maybe that should even say that in there, the abstract should be anonymous, or so it could be judged without the person's name in it, however you want to say that lingo. But yeah, so I think that include the member's name that needs to go into the entry instructions and be taken out of the abstract. And then in the abstract instructions, we probably need to say that um, anonymously the member's contribution, or however, yeah, I don't know if anonymous is the right word, but
we just need to tweak the wording. But
yeah,
I agree with you.
yeah.
All right. So our next section was category selection and clarification. So the committee, we have been brainstorming about proposing another category to the board that will encompass educational displays. So we have been reviewing some of the other categories, seeing what can be condensed, revised, and is there an opportunity for more, like an additional category? Because there are some good submissions that we are missing out on because they just don't fit anywhere. So we was also thinking about coming up with like an FAQ document, successful communications on how to submit a Stella application, covering the making it fit area, talking about submission tips, common pitfalls, and then best practices for a strong application. I know we did a PowerPoint a few years ago that we went through how to avoid being disqualified, and we still have that. If anybody wants a copy of it, just shoot me an email and I can send it to you as a PDF. But maybe making a FAQ document that we can either have at AMPIC and everyone can physically have it. You can scan the QR code, or we can send it out to Scott and he could possibly put it in the virtual newsletter. So we are brainstorming on how to do that. Mm,
Well, we have the FAQ, so maybe we just need a question and answer added to the awards FAQ that just says, common mistakes or something like that.
I'm reading the chat too at the same time. Sorry. So, um, Daniel and Iris, do you guys want to elaborate a little bit more when you're talking about disqualifying and points taken off? Because the way that I normally judge is I look at the scorecard and I'll read whatever the first question is, see how many points it's worth, and I go through their application and say, hey, did they answer this question to its entirety? If I felt they answered to its entirety, they got the full points. If I felt like I still had questions about something, that's how I deduct points. If you don't even follow the abstract, then automatically the points are taken off because you didn't follow the abstract, whether it's the general one or the one that's there for that specific category. So, can you guys elaborate on your thoughts with that as far as like removing points, disqualifying?
Yeah. When I first started, I thought that we had to DQ any that didn't have one paragraph for the abstract. I didn't do it, but Ron was like, no, we don't DQ for that. We just remove points. So, but that isn't really codified anywhere. And what's the threshold for DQ? If it says 3 and you put in 5, usually I DQ for that. But yeah, I think our DQ is a little bit subjective, perhaps.
Yeah. Daniel, you have anything you want to chime in on?
Yeah, I think that's what kind of our question in the chat was regarding was the one paragraph deal. Like, I'm with Iris. It's not it's not codified anywhere. It's certainly not like consistent across everybody. Like, if it's two paragraphs, we take off 2 points or 3 points or whatever. I think everybody just kind of does their own thing. I mean, the rules clearly state it should be one paragraph, and I'd say probably 50% of the abstracts at least are multiple paragraphs. So, you know, I don't know if we want to put on the score, or you could request that the board add to the scorecard that if it's not one paragraph or whatever, you subtract 2 points or whatever like that, or we can just keep going the way we've always been doing. I mean, it works. Everybody kind of does their own thing. It's not a disqualification. You take off points as you see fit, but it is a little frustrating probably for me and for some of you guys when you see that and you don't really know like how many points am I supposed to take off? Is this a valid entry, et cetera, et cetera. That's my 2 cents. That didn't solve
Okay.
anything either.
Yeah. I think
Well,
too, because with the abstract, there's a variety of mistakes they can make. So I'm like, if I see kind of 3 mistakes with the abstract, then I usually am dropping, at least down to 10 points, but I don't know if other people are doing it that same way. I'll take off a couple points for each mistake, I guess.
I'm so as a state judge, I did this very differently because we would have a lot of entries in a category, and that was like maybe I was a little savage as a state judge, and as a regional judge, I've like directed state judges, you know, to do what they will with that. But this is an issue, like the worst issue of all of this. But if you're looking at the scorecard and it just says were instructions followed, if they did it in multiple paragraphs, to me, that's just a no. So like me personally, I don't have a lot of there's so many people who are reading instructions clearly and doing it correctly that I don't have a huge tolerance for people who aren't following like simple instructions just because they didn't read. Um, so yes, I would like to all be on the same page about the points thing too, because I mean, if it were up to me, I'd be like, you get 0 points because you didn't follow the instructions. But maybe that's harsh.
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because you're still going off the scorecard and you're going off the points for each section on the scorecard. So when you're doing that, you're still
Right. Yeah.
asking yourself, hey, did you answer this question? And if they
Yeah.
didn't answer the question and that's how you feel, then that's how you judge it. Um, Now, if I get a submission and it's supposed to be a recording that's supposed to be 15 minutes and the recording is 30 minutes and you don't indicate where your section is,
Mhm.
it can easily be DQ because I should not have to figure out where your section is and then pass that information along to other judges like, hey, only listen to this section right here. You got to make sure you put that information in your abstract. Just listen to section 2 minute and 32 here to 5 minute and 10 seconds here. Yeah, yeah, that is correct. All
Well,
right, so then
I think if we added that see abstract and also see abstract instructions in each category, I think that would help people because,
I do
probably
agree. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, some people read it. I remember reading it the first time I applied. I kept going back and forth, and it was very confusing.
Mhm.
Um,
You want people to take the time to read it all, and it is laid out. So you get to a point where it's like you can't hold their hands and walk them through the process, but also there is a lot of information all on that page. And I think I'm total agreement that just adding that into each little section, just read abstract instructions or something
yeah.
is
Also read
helpful. Yeah.
abstract instructions. Yeah. Um, and I think what I've noticed in my region is the people that apply year after year after year, they've gotten it down. But the people that are new to extension, or like some of our people who maybe English wasn't their first language, they are making more mistakes in some of these regards, you know. So,
And then the other thing we run into is people don't know what they don't know or they don't ask. And as many times as I think all committees do a really, really good job at making themselves accessible and being able to answer whatever questions we can. So, do we also just need to continue to encourage our folks? Hey, reach out, ask us questions. You can ask us for help all day long before March 15th, but after March 15th, don't know what to tell you.
That's
So,
right. And also, I mean, when there are consequences for doing not following the directions, that's where, giving feedback is really important and providing meaningful feedback via scorecards and stuff like that. So that can be a great teaching tool for folks, especially, at state level.
yeah, very much so. Um, so we're moving right along because we actually are on to strategies to improve submission quality, which we kind of already talked about. Um, and we are going to make some changes, or Scott's going to make some changes on our behalf to the website. So we'll again get together as a team, just discuss things that we want to change to make it clearer, a little more easier for folks as they do their submissions. So I'm going to go over my notes real quick just to make sure I'm not missing anything when I share this back out. So we want to have the abstract details added to the scorecard. Um, the luncheon is invite only, so Scott's going to follow up with me with those numbers. National and regional will be, for lack of better words, first priority for invite. And based on that, if there's anything available, then it'll be state chairs first come first serve, maybe. Um, we
Yeah,
want to remind. Oh, sorry.
very rarely has there been room down to the state chair level. I think the finalists, what is it? What do you got? National finalists, and then you've got regional winners, and then do you also have regional finalists, or just I'm getting confused now. I don't
Yeah.
know how many tiers you've got.
Yeah, you have all three: national finalists, and regional winners.
Okay. I think we'll
We'll play it by ear.
yeah, once I'll go find the numbers and get those to you, and then we'll be able to kind of figure it out how far down we can go.
Okay. And then we want to make sure that all links are accessible for all submissions. So we want to make sure we add that comment to all sections, just reinforcing, hey, if it's a link to anything, it has to be a link to the actual item you are submitting, and it has to be accessible to the general public for judging purposes. Um, and then we're going to add C abstract guidelines to all categories so people can refer to the general abstract and also the category specific abstract to make sure they're checking all their boxes. Did I get that correct, team?
that sounds
Brittany, can
great.
I,
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Can I clarify on the like the link and availability?
Yes.
Okay, so if we, like I have some that are, they provided the code, but people would still have to put in an email. But they provided the code. I mean, they also have like PDF version. They have a bunch of different like additional resources so that you can view the material, but to act they're both in learning modules, but you actually do have to go in to actually see all of the content on the learning module, like in its entirety. they give you an access code, but somebody would still have to enter their, like I basically just, I signed up and did it, and then I had like a little viewing party. So, but somebody would have to put an email in and then an access code. Is that acceptable?
I like that. That was really unique doing a viewing party. So you got all your judges together. You were the one that
Yes.
signed it and opened it, and then y'all all just kind of did it together.
Yes.
Yeah, that's nice.
We
Yeah,
did
I'm
it.
sure you'd be fine with that.
Yeah, we did it. I had some people in person and then I did it through Zoom and it worked fine. That way everybody kind of could access it. And we also did it in a recording so that we could just walk through it.
Hmm.
Um, and again, that's kind of like it was a little bit of a headache, but also it was accessible. So,
Yeah, I think that works. And that's a very good and innovative way to just get everybody together, and you don't have to worry about anyone getting frustrated or having issues not being able to access the information. So that works because they still were able to see it.
yes, they were able to see it. I just want to make sure that like on the next level that will
Hmm.
be acceptable because it like I said there's an access code you can do it but you're putting in an email.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Hmm.
Whatever we
Okay.
need to be able to log in is perfectly fine. It's
Okay.
when you submit things and then we put them in the web browser and it's not opening up.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So yeah, do we
Right.
need to add that like uh email address may be provided to access or login information may be provided to access it? Do we need to add that in the description somewhere?
let me see how and where that would look like. Because it says, well, the abstract says material must be publicly accessible content that doesn't require a password.
Well, and I
So,
like that. I prefer that over trying to mess around with emailing passwords or codes in the abstract or something.
um, so maybe putting something there saying access doesn't require a password, but access codes are acceptable.
Well, isn't that what a password is? A passcode?
I mean, if I got to log in with my email, I'm still coming up with a password. So is that access? But some of those learning modules and online content, it charges a fee. So is the access code giving me free access where I'm not paying anything?
Yeah. They're just that it would eliminate if you couldn't even like if you there's a lot of platforms that would be like eliminated from like they
Right.
wouldn't be able to there's no way to do it just for free like unless you just have the access code. Um
Which one are you looking at, Brittany, where it says must be publicly accessible? Which is that in?
Number 11, website online content.
Okay. Um,
yeah, both of mine were learning modules, but I have had that same exact thing come up because it could be entered into both categories.
Yeah.
mhm. Okay, so I mean for a website, online content, you might like I know OSU, Oregon State University charges for a lot of their programs. And so I think they have given us a code, like what Sarah's saying, um, to view some of that.
And I guess my clear like mine were learning modules, so if it was website online content, I have had that come up in the past, but yeah, generally I feel like the web like online content is for anybody, but the learning module like
Right.
that's going to be the one that comes up with like an access code because most of
Access email. Yeah.
yeah, because most of those are going to be a class that they're charging for.
But like
Yeah.
if in the Google Classroom one, it was that same kind of thing. If they had provided like a, sample at yahoo.com or sample at gmail.com, and then the judges could use that email to get into it, I would be fine with that.
We did that before. I want to say that process was done under Ron one time, and I don't think it. I think there were some hiccups with that.
So
With
that's
having like
where,
a generic email and then a generic password so all the judges can access it. There was some hiccups with that because I
Mhm.
remember he did that.
Well, and maybe that's where they need to reach out to us and we need to communicate ahead of time to make sure. But it's just confusing because like I used my Gmail to get in, so I can't tell what people without a Gmail would do. And then you tried it and it was a 404. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is because it's just now we're getting down into like one or two cases, but
Yeah. Well, let's think about it a little more. We'll figure out something. So let's mull
okay.
it over and
Okay.
we'll figure out something that'll work. So
Great.
does anyone else have any additional comments or concerns or suggestions with anything as far as the communications awards?
Mm, I had
All
one.
right. And are there any updates from our upper leadership, Tyrone and Scott? Do y'all have anything else you want to share with us?
Uh, Daniel's doing a great job representing the council. So definitely our kudos to Daniel and his leadership. But we are good and looking forward to seeing everybody in Denver. Um, the only advice I tell you, do not take an Uber from the airport, take the train and then the bus. It'll save you a lot of money.
Okay. Go ahead, Iris.
Thank you for that tip because one time I did go to Denver and I took a taxi and it was very expensive.
Yeah. The train is $10 one way. Once you get to the train station, it is a free bus that goes straight to the hotel.
That's great. Um, okay, so yeah, so back to the categories. For the website online content, somebody submitted two different websites. One was Facebook and Instagram, and it was the same content. But when I looked at the rules, I was like, oh, it doesn't say one website. So somebody could end up submitting five websites and they would all have to be judged. So I thought we should consider adding just like one website to that.
So you're saying put a cap on the number of websites they put?
Yeah, or just that we should specify because it doesn't say one website. It just says online content.
Mm,
And then we say examples of online content include wikis, blogs, social media sites, etc. So you could see that somebody might include, multiple, but I don't know if other people had that issue or not, but I just um when I saw the two websites, I was like, uh-oh. But like I said, it was just the same content in both places.
if it's the same content, then I would just do one and not the other. Because I'm looking at other categories to see do we specify for every category how many items or articles are needed, which
Mhm.
we pretty much do, except for, I mean, feature story. We know we should understand a feature story is just going to be one, but it could be two. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, it sort of seems like it goes without saying, but it made me realize it's not specified.
I will
yeah,
say in Ohio, the one of the website submissions that we had, it did not win the state winner, but it was a question because there was multiple websites and it was not specified. And the instruction I gave to the judge was just judge it, judge it consistently among all the category or against the other ones. And but that was a complaint they had that it was multiple things. It covered all the online content for a program, but it was multiple websites.
okay. Um,
Since we're talking about tweaking verbiage in some of these award categories, while this has been going on, I did go in to the application, just picked audio recording. Um, since I'm not a member, I have to put in Inga Hallbaker, who's not, who's a member in Montana, and I can go in and see what a member sees. But anyway, I can go in and add the individual 1 through 13 abstract data right above the abstract box for each one of them. So I'm thinking instead of me going in and doing that right now, that as the committee discusses and makes changes, I'm assuming at post board, you're going to kind of give a recap of to the board. Here's what changes we would like to make to the categories, or I know that I know you give a plan of action or whatever for the coming year. Anyway, just get me what wording you want, especially if any of these have changes, and I'll do it then. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll forget which ones had changes, which one. It'll save me time, but can definitely have it in place. And then I'll work with the web folks about the submit button as well.
So we can
So
get that done.
at least that element of adding in the abstract info isn't going to cost us anything. So that was helpful.
Okay, that'll work. So our next thing. All right. So does anyone else have anything to share? Because if not, we are good to adjourn. We have our marching orders. I'll compile this information and shoot it back out to the committee to make sure I didn't miss anything, and then they will go ahead and send it out to the state chairs as a recap. And Scott will let us know when the recording is available, so y'all can always go back to that as well. All right. Thank y'all.
Sounds great. Thank you, Brittany. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.